Hi everyone, I recently upgraded from Google Fiber's 1 gig plan to their 2 gig plan, and in doing so I couldn't find much information, so I decided I'm going to make a video about it. I'm using the Ubiquiti Dream Machine SE, and so far the easiest way I found to do it is just to use their included router, their modem router combo. This is the GFR G300 and I've got it in bridge mode. It's got an ONT, SFP ONT in it. It has a 10 gig RJ45 port, and I've got that 10 gig RJ45 port ran into the 2.5 gig input on my UDM SE. I'm going to show you guys some speed tests in a second of what that's looking like, and then I'm also going to connect it to a 10 gig SFP Plus module as well and speed test that as well. We're here in the Unify portal. I'm going to show you how I'm connected, and then we're going to do a speed test. So we're connected to port 9 on the UDM SE, which is a 2.5 gig RJ45 port, as you can see right here. We're going to go ahead to the internet speed test. You can see I just ran one. This is actually the fastest I've seen. I've seen it fluctuate as low as the high 1400s to almost 2000. So it's been somewhat inconsistent, but there's also been some outages in my area today that may be affecting it. So only time will tell how consistent it is, but if it stays close to this 1800 to 1900 that I've seen my last few tests, I'll be pretty happy with it. This plan is not symmetrical, so it's rated at 2 gigs down but only 1 gig up. So let's see what the final result is. And we're at 1863 down and 1050 up. Pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and move over and try some different test methods. Next, we're going to repeat the previous test, but this time using a 10 gig connection. We're using the 10 gig SFP Plus for our uplink right now. We're going to go ahead and speed test. I'm using this module. I really like it. I've got 2 of them and they've been fantastic. So we're going to go ahead. Here's our speed test from last time. If anything, it might go down, but I'm not expecting to see a change in speed. So this is our fastest speed test yet. I don't think this is because we're using SFP, because technically that 2.5 gig uplink already had some overhead left. Yeah, here you go. Now we can see kind of what we're expecting to see. But what I was trying to explain is the 2000 we were seeing earlier was not limited by that 2.5 gig port because it should have still had a few hundred megabits left to spare. So the fact that we were using a 10 gig link really wasn't any benefit to us. If you have extra speed, it doesn't do you any good unless you can actually saturate it. All right, let's go ahead and try the ONT direct into the Dream Machine now. All right, so for this next test, we're gonna go ahead and we're not gonna use RJ45 at all. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this RJ45 SFP module, and we're actually going to use the ONT straight from the Google equipment. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert this guy, just like so. Kind of hard to do this one-handed. I think that's upside down. Yeah, that was upside down. Here we go. And now we're gonna plug this guy in, and from my experience, these take a while to connect, so we're gonna have to give that a few seconds. Okay, so we gave that ONT about a minute to connect, so I'm gonna go here into the port manager and show you guys. So we're connected. You can see we've got a 1000 megabit per second or a 1 gigabit link. So unfortunately, even though this module is SFP Plus, it appears that the Ubiquiti Dream Machines, whether it be the Pro or the SE, only support 10 gig or 1 gig. They do not support 2.5 gig. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a speed test. We're gonna speed test this again. And after this speed test, I'm gonna try to force it to connect at 10 gig. And unfortunately, that doesn't do anything. So you can see we are definitely connected at 1 gig speeds. Unfortunately, plugging the ONT straight into the SFP Plus on the Dream Machines is not really worth doing because, again, you're limited to those 1 gig speeds and you're not getting what you're paying for. All right, so I'm going to go to the port manager. I'm going to select port 10, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it to do 10 gigabit per second, and just to make sure that there's no weirdness from it being WAN 2, we're going to apply it as WAN 1. So we're going to give this a second. So it is set to WAN 1 and it's set to 10 gigabit per second. Now when you do this, the ONT will have to reboot, and that takes about a minute. Another thing I've noticed is these ONTs, they get crazy hot, much hotter than the RJ45 10 gig Ethernet adapters. And I even thought those got pretty hot. So just something I've noticed. I don't really think it's of concern, but nonetheless, something I wanted to share with you all. So I'm gonna give this a second to reconnect, and once it's reconnected, we'll speed test it again and see what happened. All right, a few minutes have passed and the ONT has reconnected. You can see that we have forced a 10 gig connection. So let's go ahead and speed test it. Unfortunately, I've already gone ahead and done this, and you can see we're still limited to those 1 gig speeds. So there's really no point in getting the 2 gig plan and plugging the ONT in. Fortunately, bridge mode on the included router seems to work pretty well. Another option is just to use Google Fiber's 1 gig plan, which actually does support multi-gig equipment. You actually get about 20% faster speeds out of multi-gig equipment than just regular 1 gig equipment, as shown in one of my previous videos. I figured that some of you like me might be interested in the equipment that's included with Google Fiber 2 gig. So they include this little ONT. These things get crazy hot. It's actually uncomfortable to touch. This one's been in the UDM SE and is hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and sit back down. But this one is the GFLT 210. And then next to it, here's that little 10 gig RJ45 module from Ubiquiti that I was showing. I really like these. I've got 2 of them. I've used them in several applications. But these little ONTs, you can plug them into your SFP ports, or you can plug them in the way that they're intended into the Google modem. This one is the GFRG300, and this is what Google is distributing to at least the Austin, Texas area as of late 2013. And so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna plug the little single mode fiber back in and get everything back up and running.